Good morning, everyone. We're back, and we have a great show for you today. We have a lot of callers, and you guys have been bringing some very interesting questions. So as long as you keep them simple enough for us to answer, that would be really cool. But what would you like to say, Karen?
Nothing. I'm ready. I'm just pulling up YouTube, Facebook. Everybody's chatting already.
All right, and we have to give the disclaimer.
We give the disclaimer. There is no cure for anything found in this channel.
Okay, yeah, leave that, yeah. So we can't cure you. So
there's no cure, there's no diagnosing, there's no remedy for
anything. This is just information. You can just...
This is entertainment.
You can do whatever you want with it.
You need to see your doctor.
Yeah,
the real answers.
Because the doctor's the expert in all these things.
It's entertaining to feel really good.
What's that?
That's right. It's entertaining to be healthy.
Yeah, sure.
And energetic and
take this with a grain of salt.
Right. And we will repeat this frequently.
Yeah, because it's illegal to cure people in the state of Maryland.
In the United States of America.
Okay, that's right.
That's enough on that.
Okay, so let's go to Terry. Terry, you're from Minnesota, and are you there?
Yes.
Great.
Yes, I am.
Awesome.
You hear me?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. My question is, I'm taking your supplements. I'm also doing intermittent fasting and stuff, and I'm getting the supplements hanging up in my throat when I'm trying to swallow them. I'm usually doing the electric powder, and water and stuff. And I had this ever since I was as far as back as I can recall as a kid. But back then I was eating 3 meals a day, so I could use the food to push the supplement pills down my throat. Now I'm doing I'm trying to do 72-hour fasting, only eating, once every 72 hours and keep going like that.
Yeah, I got it.
One is because of the H. pylori and stuff, but trying to so I'm wondering, what food can I use that does not interfere with the intermittent fasting?
Right. Are you taking my nutritional yeast out of curiosity?
Yes, but it's all the supplements.
Okay.
Just not that.
Okay. So yeah, because the nutritional yeast, we're just coming out with smaller tablets, so it'll make it easier. So this is what you do. You have 2 choices, Terry. You could basically, on the days that you eat, of course, you could take them with the meal. But you can also open up the capsules and put them in the electrolyte powder and just put all the powder in there, mix it all up, and drink it on down. So you can drink your supplements without the capsule, or you can also take it with a little bit of fat, like whether it's maybe you melt some coconut oil a little bit and put it in there and just kind of slug it down with that, or you could do like the MCT oil too, but you just can't do too much, so that might be difficult. So the other thing you can do that probably won't break your fast is to consume some cruciferous vegetables, because it's very low calorie, high in fiber, and even some celery or something, and then you can kind of get it down with some vegetables. Maybe put a little olive oil on there, and I think that's not going to interfere at all. Plus you get the benefit of autophagy from all those phytonutrients. So that's what you can do. All right. And then we have Ruth. Ruth, you're back on. How you doing, Ruth?
We've missed you.
I'm back. I'm waiting for my blood test results to find out the omega-3, omega-6.
Oh, yeah. Good.
But until that comes in, urine. Your video says to drink when you're thirsty. When I do that, I just don't get thirsty. So my urine started getting very dark. So I started being consistent about drinking at least 3 quarts of water per day. And there's still an odor to it. And I'm on 1 meal a day. I drink a 7 to 10 cup smoothie of veggies, because I also know the liver can also make the breath smell, skin smell, and I'm assuming urine smell. So I've been drinking that 7 to 10 cups of veggies a day. There's like a handful of parsley, there's dandelion green, cucumber, bell pepper in it, and then your electrolyte powder.
Mm-hmm.
And then all I normally is about 3 to 6 ounces of meat, and then some other steamed veggie or cooked vegetable with my meat. So I try and keep things really clean. And so I'm thinking maybe it might be my liver. So I've started taking the milk thistle and the choline, but I just wonder if I'm on the right track. Is the smell in the urine something that will always be there, or should it eventually? I mean, it's been 3 years.
Here's what's probably happening. I do know when you do 1 meal a day, okay, and you get your carbs down lower, your concentration of ketones are going to be a lot more. You get more ketones, and they do have a different odor. And maybe the only thing I would do is I would increase the your fluids to maybe like 2.5 liters a day, and I wouldn't worry about it too much. I don't think you have any other issues with that, but I would just increase the amount of volume. But because here's the thing, when you actually do keto, and especially intermittent fasting like you're doing, you're getting rid of a lot of glycogen from your liver. I'm talking like with that glycogen and the attached water that comes with it, the fluid, you're probably going to get rid of like an additional like 8 to 9 to even 13 pounds. So because you don't have that sponge anymore, you probably need to drink a little bit more just to kind of keep things flowing, because you don't have the level of fluid that you did before. So that's what I would do, and I wouldn't try to go any other way other than that. Ruth, thanks for your call. All right. Let's see what we have. Where are people contacting us from?
I'm just getting started on that, but so far countries: British Columbia, Serbia, Cyprus, South Africa, Cairo, Slovenia, India, and I realize some of these are not countries. Montreal, in the U.S., all over the U.S., Jersey, Michigan, Arkansas, North and South Carolina.
Wow.
Wisconsin, everywhere in the United States, and I'm just getting started. But
Global.
But I have a question for you.
Yes.
Someone is asking about, and I have to word this carefully,
Okay.
a very low mood.
Okay.
Has a very low mood.
Okay. Well, I tell you what. I'll answer that question a little bit later, because it's attached to a couple other things.
A quiz.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So stay tuned. If you're concerned about a low mood.
I'm ready for the first question. Hope you guys are too.
Oh, the quiz?
Yep.
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, here's the quiz. What in your body acts like soap or a detergent? Okay?
I know this.
So let's see if you guys can get this one in. Like, what is your body's natural soap or detergent? What is that? See if they can get this one.
Okay.
Okay? All right. And Christine from Buffalo, New York. That's where Karen went to college
Yes,
to
it
get
is.
more knowledge.
I went to UB.
Hi, Christine.
Hi, good morning. Hi, Dr. Berg. Hi,
Good morning.
Karen.
Hi.
Thank you for taking my call. So I just had a question because I can't find a lot of information about it. 3 years ago, I had Graves' disease for a while, and I was on methimazole to kind of keep it, to keep my levels okay. And then my doctor, advised me that we should do the radiation iodine. So it killed off my thyroid. So now I'm on Synthroid for the hormone, and I'm just having so much trouble with bloating and losing weight. I'm on low carb. I'm not exactly keto yet, but I'm just I've been bouncing between 154 and 158 for 3 months, and it's just so hard. I've been working out twice a week with a trainer, and I just bought your electrolyte powder to see if the potassium will help the bloating. But I just didn't know if there's anything else I should be doing without having a thyroid anymore.
Okay. Well, you know what? There's some things you can do. So you had Graves, which is a hyperthyroid, and it's an autoimmune condition. And so it's interesting because if that would actually make you lose weight because it's going like crazy. Now they removed it, now you have a hypo. So we've taken Synthroid. The thyroid produces several hormones, so you may want to consider checking with your doctor to maybe use an Armour thyroid or a natural thyroid, which has the complex of different hormones. You may find some additional benefit from doing that route. Sometimes doctors don't like to do that because it's hard to standardize or regulate those hormones. So there's some other key things that you want to do as well. Selenium for the conversion from T4 to T3. Zinc, which is also really important for a hypothyroid. It's actually quite vital. But you need to do keto, like exactly right, because what's going to happen is that's going to decrease the need for making the hormones, so your thyroid will be actually way more efficient. So you're actually going to do your thyroid, well, not your thyroid, you don't have one anymore. You're going to do that part of your, the hormones that you're taking, they're going to work more efficiently, and you're going to produce more energy, and you're going to actually, I think, lose more weight if you add the keto in there and do it standardly. One more thing I would recommend to take as a supplement would be the gallbladder formula. If you take that, I think that can also help a not a hypothyroid. And I think that should answer it. Thanks, Christine, and definitely check in with us, next week or following week to let us know how you're doing. All right, Karen, what do we have as an answer?
99%. I would say 98%.
Okay.
Of the people said bile.
Wow.
Bile. Other people, a very few said other things, and then other people were saying the liver.
Okay.
So we're in the right ballpark.
Yeah, the answer is the bile. You guys are correct. You've been watching the video. So, yeah, bile is a detergent. It's a detergent. It is a soap, which is interesting because a soap, what it does is it takes it, you have oil and water don't mix. So it allows the oil to mix with the water. It allows to break it up and turn it into something that now is kind of water soluble in a way, so it can be dealt with. So that bile is so important to, they've done experiments, and they've taken, on dogs actually, and they kind of block the bile, and what happens is, oh my gosh, so many things shut down, go blind because they don't have vitamin A, they don't have vitamin D, you can't even absorb that. Omega-3 fatty acids, their stool becomes really, constipated. So there's so many things that happen without bile. So I will be talking more about that throughout this presentation.
It's your bodily fluid of the month.
Well, I just ordered 2 textbooks on bile physiology, and they're just so fascinating. I'll share them when I'm done with you, Karen. I'm sure you'll want to read them. But I cannot stop reading those. It's it's just fascinating, the whole history of bile.
Yum, bodily fluids.
Bodily fluids. I think what's the most interesting about bile is how many things it affects and is involved in terms of, your body's functioning that I never heard of before a couple of months ago when we started using a little more bile salts.
It's a thing that can prevent SIBO, small intestinal bacterial, because it regulates your microbiome. Wow. It actually prevents inflammation and cirrhosis in the liver. It keeps the gallstones from forming. So when they tied up the bile ducts in this dog experiment, they all ended up with gallstones, which is fascinating. So you have this cholesterol coming out that can kind of get concentrated and form a stone, but not if you have bile, you're good to go. So I have quite a few questions today related to that, in a way. So
related to bile?
Well, yeah.
Well, now you
can
just
say that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gave us a hint.
I gave you a little hint there.
Okay.
So I'm going to go to Kathy. You find some questions.
Okay.
Kathy, you're from Erie, Pennsylvania. Are you there?
Yes, hello, hi.
Hi, great.
Yes, can you hear me?
perfectly.
So I am 51 years old, post-menopause.
Okay.
I had a calcium test come back at 10.1,
Okay.
calcium blood test.
Oh.
And when I looked at my test from last year, it was a 10. During my reading, I found that this is an overactive parathyroid gland, most likely, meaning there's a tumor on one of the 4 parathyroid glands. And I've also read that the only thing that can help this is to get the tumor removed. I haven't been diagnosed yet. But
Okay. Yeah, I totally I hear what you're saying. Here's the best thing, because that could be one of the causes. I did a video on that. You could probably look it up. It's on the parathyroid. It may not be a tumor. It may not. You may also want to find out where your calcium's coming from. Are you taking a supplement with calcium? I would avoid that. Probably cut down on your vitamin D. I would also take vitamin K2. I would also take magnesium. All these things can help bring this down, especially if you do a little scan and find out there's no tumor on the parathyroid. So that's what I would do. But if you do have it and you realize you have 4 parathyroid glands and they remove one of them, I mean, you can still you can actually function just with one of your parathyroids. So it's not the end of the world. People do very well with even after the surgery. It's very, very actually it's quite common, and I don't know exactly what is causing that, but that's what I would do. All right, thanks for your call. All right, Karen.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hi.
What do you want to talk about?
I have some questions.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, good. So Jackie on YouTube is asking, she did the online test to see what products to buy, and all of the symptoms are adrenal. But in the past, she says I drank the pills for thyroid. So I'm assuming she means she was taking supplements for thyroid. It's a little confusing, the question, but what I get out of this is, can your body shift from one body type to another?
Yeah, in fact, sometimes when you take a quiz, it's just generally giving you kind of a general idea where you fall into, but it doesn't really mean that you're that. There's
forever,
right? And plus, things you have a combination of different things. So there's just a lot of people that have adrenal body type simply because of the stress factor, which can then affect other glands. And especially like if it's hard to figure it out when you're mixed between two, you know, you might want to, okay, well, I'll try this. Okay, see how I feel. Nothing. Okay, let me try this. Oh wow, I feel much better. Good. Then we narrow it down for that. So there's different ways of narrowing it down.
Yeah.
But the adrenals definitely are so common, and people really benefit from that.
Right.
Yeah.
I hope that answered your question, Jackie. Go with the adrenal.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So there's a question on from Facebook. What do you think about iodine drops for estrogen dominance versus sea kelp or something?
The reason I don't like it is because the source of iodine, it could be elemental. I like a plant-based iodine from sea kelp because it's easier for body to manipulate and use. And that has to do with the way it's bonded in nature. The plant grabs elemental, it's like a rock from the earth, and it converts it into a plant base or a nice type of mineral that's easy to deal with and absorb. So I like the vegetable type minerals more than the elemental ones, especially if I don't know if the liquid, I don't know what the source is, but and that's just my viewpoint, but other people had other viewpoints.
Okay. Well, she was asking for your viewpoint.
Okay, good.
So that works. Now, am I not going to ask this question because
Okay,
you have
so
a quiz?
this is the first question.
Second.
Second question. Why do people with gallstones, why are people with gallstones higher at risk for depression? There's a reason. Okay, so I'll let you guys answer that. Silence.
Well, I got the lecture this morning with my cup of coffee, so
Hey, you know what?
I get my
I
classes.
got the next 3
every
days
day.
all planned out in the morning. I have all the different lectures I'm going to tell you about. So you're in for a little
I'm in for a treat.
seminar early in the morning.
I know.
Okay, so we want to go to, I think it's Keiyana from Georgia. Are you there?
Yes,
Hi.
I am. Good morning. Can you
Good
hear
morning.
me?
Great. Yes, I can hear you perfectly.
Awesome. Thanks so much for taking my call. So I just want to share with you, several years ago, I was diagnosed with PCOS. And today I'm actually 7 weeks keto. And today I entered 6 weeks of OMED. I lost 26 pounds. And then my monthly friend came. Sorry, TMI. But, and then I went through a plateau. So once that ended, I did a 48-hour fast, and then I lost 3 pounds. But 2 days after that, I just started to gain weight. And it was like a half a pound, and then another half a pound. And now I'm up about 2 pounds. And in addition, I do work out 5 days a week. I do 20 minutes of interval where I'll run, walk. And I just don't know why I'm at this plateau. So I was just calling. I was concerned and just wanted to get your thoughts and how. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, good. So when you go through your period, there's all sorts of hormonal fluctuations, and what you could happen during a certain time of your period or your cycle. You can gain water and lose it really quickly. So if you're losing water weight quickly, let's say you lost 3 pounds, and you gain back water back weight, it's not, you might think it's fat, but it could be just fluids. So your body's just adjusting where it should be normally. The big idea of this is that you want to look at what you're doing, make sure it's healthy, and make sure that you the average of weight loss and things are progressing with other factors too, because we're trying to get you healthy. There's always things you can do to speed up the weight loss, but it's all based on one thing: what's happening with insulin. Because if you had PCOS, that means you have high insulin, and you have insulin resistance, which takes probably months to deal with. Could take months. So you may not be out of the woods yet, and you got to keep working in that over and over and over again. But the fact that you're losing weight, it means that it's working, but you have to give it more time. But out of all the things that you can do to help normalize or balance insulin, the first thing is more fasting, okay? Number 2, it's getting the carbs lower and lower and lower, and any hidden carbs. And number 3, it's dealing with your stress, and your cycle could be a stress too. And then get more sleep, that's connected with that. I'm going to be releasing a video early this next week on kind of a new summary of all the things you can do if you stall or plateau. So you can watch that and just follow that and use that as a little, cheat sheet of what you need to focus on, because there's many things you can do. All right, thanks for your call. What do we have as an answer to the question?
Well, this is interesting. A lot of people are not participating in the answer of this. I think is a mind bender, but we do have people saying because eventually you're not getting enough K, another is you're not getting D, another is the cortisol level. Because of pain from that situation, you're not getting enough sleep. The brain-gut connection is blocked. All kinds of things like that. There wasn't an answer.
And this is fascinating, because if you look up the relationship between gallstones and depression, you'll find that there's a lot of research that there's this huge connection. So if your gallstones, all of a sudden your risk for depression goes way up by 80%.
Wow.
And so, and I'm reading through this and I'm like, I don't think anyone really knows what's going on here, but I think I know what it is. You have to understand even like the word melancholy. The Greek word for melancholy is black bile. Black bile, because this is like back in the medieval time where they had the 4 different temperaments, and they looked at the different fluids, like, which I'm not going to get into, but they used to say, well, you have black bile, so this is why you have depression. So I'm like, well, that's interesting. They were dealing with bile back then, black bile, which, and if you look at the symptoms that people had associated with that, constipation, bloating, distension. So you get that when you have gallstones. But the relationship is really a bile deficiency in the bile, because the bile is then backing up. It's not flowing correctly, and it oxidizes. So it turns black, because it's supposed to be green or yellow. So so really, the relationship is this. When you're low in bile, you're not going to be able to absorb the two most important things to keep your mood up. One is omega-3 fatty acids, specifically DHA, which basically makes up about 20% of your brain and your hormones as well. It's a kind of a precursor, but also vitamin D. So without bile, you can't absorb vitamin D. So bile deficiency, DHA deficiency can severely cause depression.
A D deficiency. And
Vitamin D deficiency and a DHA deficiency, which is omega-3 fatty acids like the fish oils. So here you are taking the vitamin D and the fish oils. It's not working because you don't have enough bile. So you have the melancholy because you have black bile.
Dr. Berg,
Yes.
and you may have said this and I was distracted, but for people that have their gallbladder removed, they're still producing bile, right? But what's the correlation?
Now, this is
there?
interesting you brought this up, Steve, because when people have gallstones and get depression and they take the gallbladder out, their depression goes away. Now, yeah, so I'm not recommending that because you could simply just add more bile salts to solve the problem. But when you remove the gallbladder, you still produce bile from the liver, you just don't store it and concentrate it anymore. So you're having this weak,
response,
diluted
kind of.
bile, and then you don't get the full absorption. So I would recommend taking bile salts if you don't have a gallbladder. Yep.
There you go. That was
Okay.
interesting.
All right. So you have a question?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Do you have any suggestions, supplement-wise or diet-wise, for muscle pain?
Okay, muscle pain, you have two things. You have muscle weakness and you have muscle pain.
So this is muscle pain because the question is the problem is they don't want to take Aleve anymore.
Yeah.
It was a very general question. There was no more information than that.
Okay, muscle pain, most of the time you need vitamin D because one of the biggest symptoms of D deficiency is low back pain and muscle achiness and muscle pain. So take some D, and then the other thing is if you have muscle weakness, that is a vitamin E deficiency. There's nothing faster to strengthen muscle than vitamin E. So let's say, for example, you're working out and you can't go very far, or you're climbing stairs, or you just don't have the endurance, or take some E. But don't take the regular vitamin E, take the tocotrienols. Okay, that's a better version of the tocopherols, and I've done a video about this, but it's just, you'll have more benefits from that, like by a factor of 50x.
Wow.
All right, do you have any more questions, Karen?
I just realized I have a bottle of E. I'm probably just going to get rid of it.
Yeah, you could take it. I mean, just that you have two
cupboard.
sections. You have tocopherols and you have tocotrienols, right? You could pretty much very easily get your tocopherols from diet if you're doing a healthy diet, but it's very difficult to get the tocotrienols. But there are two types of antioxidants that do a lot for you. The tocotrienols are just a lot more powerful, but if you have the tocopherols, go ahead and take them unless they're synthetic. And the only time I recommend taking synthetic vitamin E is if you're doing some type of detox that's more temporary. All right, we need to go to Ahmed from Ontario. Are you there?
Yeah, hi, nice to meet you, Dr. Berg. Wow.
Hi.
Hi. So I'm a huge fan, and you've changed the lives of my family and I for 2 to 3 years. And my question for the day was, so I'm on a keto bulk for the last 2 months or so. I've been part of the ketogenic diet for a while, and I've loved it. My energy levels, everything has been amazing. And so my macros look like 75 to 80% fat, 15% proteins, and 5% carbs. So I aim for 50 grams of under 50 grams of net carbs every single day because I work out 6 days a week.
Mm-hmm.
So my question for the day essentially was, is it safe for me to have a cheat day once every single 10 days? Because I am of Middle Eastern descent and I grew up with carbs. I'm sure you've heard in the past, it just once in a while, just to indulge, is it like the science behind it? Is it safe for me to indulge once every 10 days?
What country?
So I'm from Canada right now, though, but so I'm Southeast Asian, and my dad's from East Africa. So my mom's Pakistani, and my dad's from Tanzania.
Okay.
So what is that, rice,
Well,
or is it?
I think what would be your ultimate cheat food?
I'm not sure if you've heard of if you've heard of biryani by chance. It's a popular Pakistani dish.
No, is it?
It's filled with rice, chicken, and there's I can't describe it in English, unfortunately, as well, though.
Okay.
But it's a high carb food essentially with a high protein.
All right, so I'm sure you've probably watched videos and you know my viewpoint on cheat foods. But here's the thing. I mean, if you actually are getting close to your goal and you're not trying to handle anything major, and you want to go off the program, and you're aware that it's going to completely and utterly destroy your liver. No, I'm just kidding. That's going to create some side effects, especially when you start combining rice with chicken, just because it's going to increase more insulin, and you're willing to go through that and kind of suffer the consequences. No, just kind of go through that and have the side effects, and you get right back on your program, and you don't have a problem with getting back on your program. I mean, go for it, but just realize that when you start combining, and I do understand the combination in the food that there's over there. For example, like they have a big problem with arsenic, which comes from the rice, and also a zinc deficiency, which comes from the rice, because the bran and the rice and even the wheat blocks zinc. So you have all these things, but if you're just doing it for one day, I mean, okay, so it's not going to completely, utterly destroy your health. So that's my viewpoint. I mean,
wow, don't you just want to do it now? Don't you just want to dive in? And
here's the problem with it.
Everybody dies.
It's a slippery slope, because there's a lot of people who they go off and then all of a sudden they go on, they go off. Now they can't get back on. And there's other people that go off for a week or two, and then they really kind of mess up their body, because especially when you start on keto and then you go off and all of a sudden now the results aren't there like they were before. We get that all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but I think it is a good, if you have, and this young man sounds very, very disciplined and has obviously seen great success. So, and you've said in the past, the healthier you are, if you're at your goal weight, go ahead and have something, and then you can see for yourself. So we've had a lot of people say to us, well, I went off for the weekend, and now I just can't get back. They thought they were going to go off for the weekend and then start fresh on Monday, but those carbs generated the cravings again. And so Monday came around, and then, okay, maybe just Monday, I'll start Tuesday. So for some people, it's really, really hard. Other people, I'm sure, can have a meal, mm-hmm. and then get back in the routine.
I mean, I like how he said every 10 days. I thought he was going to say, well, like every week.
Every other day.
So that's good. So that's, I mean, really, you can do whatever you want. Try it out and see what happens. Feel. All right, cool. Karen, I think it's time for another quiz, okay?
Okay.
All right. What is one of the best nutrients to improve your ability to learn something? From a physical standpoint, we're not talking about techniques or anything like that, but we're talking about just your ability to learn something. Let's say you can learn things very well growing up, and all of a sudden now, like, you're having a hard time grasping or absorbing stuff. So what nutrient would be the key nutrient to take to support that? Okay?
I know the answer to that.
I'm sure you do, because you're looking right down at my paper.
No.
Okay.
Because I just happened to. I was paying attention in class yesterday during wherever we were when you were talking about it.
Okay. All right. And this is very, very important if you have kids, if you have babies, if you're going to have a baby. This is very, very important, because this kind of can go beyond just learning. All right, so let's see. I want to go to Is it Jamie from New York?
Oh, it's Janie.
Oh, hi, how are you?
Hi, can you hear me, Dr. Berg, or it's a lot of static?
I can-
have you on speaker.
I can hear you. Go ahead.
Great. I've been looking for like keto bread and dessert products to buy instead of baking sometimes. And many sites like Amazon and such, on low carb sites, they do have breads and desserts, but they also, in it, they have like wheat isolates and potato starch and tapioca. The carbs are low though. But
Right.
I want to know, is it okay to eat these and still be on the keto lifestyle?
Good question, Jane. I mean, this is the thing. Right now, there's so many people jumping on this bandwagon, and they're having all these different ingredients, and they're calling it keto. I would just read the ingredients and avoid things with wheat, gluten as their protein. I would avoid things like tapioca, dextrose, modified food
Maltodextrin.
starch. Yeah. And corn fiber, I don't like that ingredient. So these are things that you want to avoid, and you'll find them. You got to look around. I'll have to do a video on that just to, because if I find a good product, I will do a video and promote it, and I've done that before. But I'm not doing a lot of videos on that because I'm having a hard time finding good products that kind of fit the definition of healthy. The best thing to do is to make your own bread. There's a lot of recipes. There's one called what's that called? A cloud bread?
Mm-hmm.
So that's a real easy one.
You can make a great cheese Danish
Yes.
out of cloud bread. It is
Karen-
amazing.
Karen actually has some amazing recipes on the bread. If you go to the website and also just do a search on it. I'm talking. There's a bread that you made. Literally, it's just close to sourdough. It's incredible, and you can make it, but just don't eat the whole loaf. But it's pretty
It's
good.
a small loaf.
Yeah, right. Okay, so what do we have as our answer to the question, Karen?
Okay. So omega-3, B2, B1, E's, folate, folic acid, DHA. DHA, I would say, and omega-3 were the top answers.
Okay, so the correct answer is DHA, which is an omega-3 fatty acid. So DHA
Double
is the
winners.
correct answer. It's one of the best nutrients to support learning. Now, there's a part of the brain that they don't know this for sure, but they have a sense that it's connected, it's related, but it's called the hippocampus in your brain. And it's part of the learning, spatial learning, your ability to locate your, where things are and, follow a map. If you actually are dependent on a GPS, for example, you have a problem with your hippocampus. No, I'm just kidding. We're all dependent on the GPS.
Or you just
Right. Remember
don't
we
use
used to have
a map
maps?
anymore. I know. I just got some maps. I
Listen.
like maps. I like
Listen.
pencils and I like maps.
In college, I was the backup for the newspaper delivery. I would actually memorize all these routes, and I was the backup. If someone wasn't there, I would be able to memorize how to get to do different routes. And so,
in college?
yeah. So I basically, I had a good spatial memory. I had a good GPS. Of course, now I need dependent. No, I'm just kidding.
Now, there's something to that, though.
What's to that?
Omega-3 fatty acids,
Yeah.
DHA. In order to access that,
Right. If you don't have enough bile in your gallbladder, you're not going to extract that from the fish oil. And by the way, cold water fish, or basically like salmon and halibut and sardines, cod, are all good sources of DHA. You can also get it from algae if you're a vegetarian. Okay, but DHA is so important for the retina, for the brain, for memory. If your child is deficient, they'll have problem with their IQ. They'll have problem with brain development as well as vision. Unfortunately, a lot of babies are not breastfed, so they're going to have a different structure in their retina, which is not good. So you need to supplement DHA If you're like a liquid, if you have an infant and you can't do breastfeeding, or even if you're pregnant, you need to take DHA. But a lot of times mothers don't like, fish or something like that. Well, then you better take it as a supplement, because it's one of the most important nutrients to support the ability to learn something, your memory, and your vision.
As you're talking, I think about my mom and all the things that my mom suffered up until the end. And all of it started after she had her gallbladder out.
Interesting.
All of it.
Oh, you know what?
Alzheimer's.
The thyroid is dependent. That's why I told this lady to take, with no thyroid, I said take some gallbladder, because...
Oh, and she had no thyroid first.
Right. You need bile to help convert T4 to T3. So if she took the Synthroid, which is T4, which she took, she wasn't converting it to T3, so she had a weight issue, no gallbladder, can't convert it, can't absorb
She had pain,
DHA.
she had joint issues, she had...
yeah, you have inflammation,
the
heart.
eye, what's it called?
Macular degeneration.
Macular degeneration.
Yeah.
Alzheimer's, heart issues. What about heart issues and bile?
Come on, it's like omega-3 fatty acids, like protect the heart.
Interesting.
The other thing too is, and one last thing is that.
Wow.
What was I going to say about that? DHA is like Alzheimer's patients are always deficient in DHA, always deficient in DHA. So there's a huge correlation between those two. The importance of fish oils, cod liver oil.
So cod liver oil. Now we have the capsule now.
Yeah, but I don't want to promote our product for that. They can get it anywhere.
I mean, one person in our family had a very, very difficult time complying with that, and she was nursing.
Because of the smell.
Because it was cod liver. Even the lemon flavored and things like that can be impossible to get down. So now there is a solution to that, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
And she doesn't like fish. So if you have someone who doesn't like fish, can't choke down, you still have to figure out how to get it.
That's a
get it in ya.
Let's go to Olga from Ohio. She's calling. You had a question. Are you there, Olga? Olga?
Yes. Hi, Dr. Berg.
Hi.
Hi, Karen. How are you?
Hi. Good.
So, I am a 38-year-old, and I was diagnosed with pulmonary fibrosis since I was probably 6 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, later on, I developed the rheumatoid arthritis.
Mm.
And just a few years ago, just a year and a half ago, I was diagnosed with pulmonary hypertension, which is coming from the pulmonary fibrosis, from what I understand all this. So there's a connection from one thing to the other to the other. So my pulmonary fibrosis has been, I guess, stable until I was diagnosed with a hypertension a year and a half ago. So I'm on oxygen and 3 liters, and I have other medications like inhalers, and then I have treatment for the rheumatoid arthritis. But the hypertension seems to be worsened, and that's what is. We're getting to the point where they're saying if the hypertension doesn't get better, then you have to have transplant of the lungs, which is something that obviously I don't want to go through. So, so I've been doing keto, and it has been helping me with the fasting and so on. But I don't know what else I can do to help, whether the hypertension or the fibrosis.
So I'm going to direct you to an area to research more of, okay? This is very important because you can have pulmonary hypertension from liver fibrosis or cirrhosis, or when the lung becomes filled with scar tissue. So obviously all that's coming from inflammation, which then causes the fibrosis, which is kind of a healing effect. Your body's trying to heal something. I think the area you need to focus in and possibly experiment with is larger amounts of vitamin D3. I'm talking like 50,000 IUs a day. Take the K2 as well, but at least that's been known to help lower blood pressure. That's been known to help reduce inflammation in the lungs, reduce autoimmune type inflammation from rheumatoid arthritis. Those are the things I would do. Now, on top of that, for fibrosis in general, an area to research, and I will release the video on this early next week, is the relationship between taking purified bile salts, and the reduction of fibrosis, or at least the slowing down of the formation of fibrosis, which kind of associates with the vitamin D. So we're right back to the bile and vitamin D again, Karen. So that's what I would research. If you just search on this, I think you'll find a lot of great information. All right, check with your doctor before, taking any of these things we're recommending.
Right.
Okay, Karen.
Yeah.
Do we have any questions over there?
We have a lot of questions.
Okay.
I was just going to see if I wanted to there's some questions about algae and where to get the algae from and kinds of algae. Do you have a comment on that? Or?
Yeah, that's for you to research, and I don't get into brands and dosages, because then you're going to come back and say, well, they just introduced mercury in there. I'm like, well, so you have to kind of just, I'm going to take you this far, and then you're going to have to take it the rest of the way as far as brands and dosages, read the label and go from there.
All right. So there's a question here about bile salts. Would there be any benefit if someone is healing endometriosis scarring?
I think you would have some benefits with that. You want to make sure you also do with endometriosis that's usually coming from an estrogen situation. So you want to do more maybe iodine, sea kelp, and cruciferous. But you know what? It's fibrosis, so fibrosis can be improved by taking purified bile salts. It's definitely something to consider.
Okay. And then Jerry on YouTube is asking, what's the best source for D3?
D3 doesn't come from a lot of different things. So I have this little itch. It's from sheep's wool. That's where I get it from. But as far as food goes, cod liver oil is the best. But I thought you were talking about it in a supplement. But cod liver oil is the best vitamin D if you're taking a food base. And then, of course, it's really...
sheep's wool?
Yeah. That's where most vitamin D3 comes from.
See, what I was going to say is, if this is something that the body needs through time, and I mean, it's vitamin D deficiency is, like you said, a pandemic.
And people aren't chewing on sheep's wool enough.
And it has been. For years, there's been, it's a situation, people, D deficiency. But there must have been a time where it wasn't a deficiency, and how were humans handling their vitamin D? I'm guessing they weren't eating sheep's wool. They may have been handling sheep's wool, but they're not eating sheep's wool.
So let's see if Steve can answer that question. Steve, well, what did people do back then before all...
Back in, as my
hot
kids
to get their
say,
vitamin D.
I know they went to drberg.com and got your D3K2 formula.
Before that, before I had that, before that.
I don't know, I think they just suffered. And by the way, you guys are so reluctant to brag about your stuff, but I'm not reluctant. It's just terrific stuff. I'm gobbling it down, and you know my addiction to the other stuff, the yeast, yeah. But anyway, I digress. Okay. But anyway, I don't know, Dr.
Okay, so the answer is sun. We were designed to get a lot of sun, not inside behind the computer 24/7, Karen. So
that is the answer to my question. So you're either eating fish, because that was your food source,
right.
or you're
chopping
working
on algae.
the land to
right.
grow your food, or hunting for your food, or just outside because people weren't sitting inside staring at anything until what? TV came along.
Recently.
Right, very recently. Okay, good.
So
well, I should have put that together, but I'm glad we had this little talk.
I was coaching you. Here's the thing, though. It's very interesting. Like we weren't meant to get all of our vitamin D from food because it's impossible. You cannot get your dosages of vitamin D from your diet unless you're doing a concentrated this or that like olive oil. But
So
you
get out of
can't.
the house.
So our bodies were totally designed to get sun. Then I'll have some people will comment on the when I talk about that and says, oh no, sun causes cancer, so you have to avoid the sun. Well, then where are you going to get your vitamin D? You know?
It's essential for human life.
Yeah, and also vitamin D is protective against cancer. So anyway, I think
Okay, that's a whole nother
that's a.
thing we're not going to talk about.
You don't want to talk about cancer today?
We're not going to talk about it.
We'll talk about that later.
Ever.
Okay.
Okay. Why don't you take that call?
Lori, are you there? You're from Texas. Hi.
I'm here. Hi, I'm from Austin, Texas.
Oh, right.
So glad to talk to y'all. So I think this question will ultimately turn into maybe I have to do a video kind of thing, but I'll let you decide.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been healthy keto for 18 months.
Mm-hmm.
However, it seems like certain symptoms have been showing up that are magnified that, you know, when I was eating like Cheetos and French fries never showed up.
Right.
So I don't know why they're magnified on keto. But I have many symptoms that I cannot figure out, and I've watched your videos endlessly. And I just can't figure out if it's like fatty liver, fatty pancreas, SIBO, histamine intolerance, am I too alkaline? So it would be really helpful, because I listen to your show every Friday, and I also watch your videos. It'd be really helpful if you could do a video explaining what you try first, how long do you give it, and then you go to the next step to try to figure out these issues. Because I take a lot of your supplements, and I finally found one, and I said, well, I better stop taking a gallbladder formula because of the loose stool, and you had a video about that. So I stopped taking that, and now I can't figure out what it is or how to solve it.
You said, I missed one little point. You said, I can't take the gallbladder because of blank.
Loose stool.
Okay, got it. Okay.
Yes.
Well, what
yes.
are the symptoms that you're trying to, or is it just that you're chasing symptoms?
I think that I am not absorbing vitamins for some reason, and you know, it's loose stool. It's the heartbeat issue I cannot solve regardless of the amount of potassium that I take. A lot of eye issues. It seems like a lot of allergies in the eyes and things like that. Nervousness. I take cod liver oil. I do all the supplements that you sell, basically. I just can't figure it out. It's mainly the stomach issue, though.
I think this is some of those things. I think that somehow, if you can communicate to Dr. Berg at drberg.com, I think you just gave me another video I can do just to kind of go through like a case study, because you're right. It's making the connection, looking at all this stuff, and kind of breaking it down. What do I try first, second, third, and fourth? Because it's a little bit complex. But if you can give me all the data, I'll do a video on that. But I will say, if it's related to digestion, it's a little more complex. And a lot of times you need a test. You need additional data. You need to do like a test stool sample, or maybe some test to, maybe a blood test that measures the liver function. Not go crazy with too deep a test, but let's say you do the bile salts and that doesn't seem to handle, because that usually handles a lot, then you might need to try the acidifiers like betaine hydrochloride or apple cider vinegar concentrate. And then you also have the different friendly bacteria blends, and then you have enzymes that you can try too, because that could be one reason why you have some of the symptoms. But allergies usually are a pH problem, so you're obviously not getting there's some type of acidic problem. So that's what I think I would go with betaine hydrochloride first, and then I'll do a video on that. Okay, Lori? Thanks for your question. All right, Karen.
Take another one, because we're...
Let me take another one. We're going to go to Tania from Montreal. You have a question about bloating.
Hi, Dr. Berg and
Hi.
Karen.
Hi.
So I have a question. I get very bloated. I've been doing keto for 2 years or so, and I can still get bloated after a meal. And I recently started fasting. Well, it's been like 2 or 3 months I started fasting. I only eat between noon and 8 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
And then I wanted to see how far I could intermittent fast.
Mm-hmm.
couple weeks ago, and I just listened to my body, and I ate when I felt hungry. So I reached 2 days, but after I hit the 24-hour mark, I felt like I was getting bloated, even though I hadn't eaten a meal in 24 hours. So, and like I mentioned, I get bloated very easily. I had even eliminated nuts from my diet because I can eat 3 or 4 almonds and I just like balloon up. So I don't know why I'm getting bloated during fasting when I don't know if there should be an opposite effect to it. I should mention that I don't have a gallbladder and I also have PCOS, so I don't know if those are factors that contribute to the bloating.
Okay, so this is what I would recommend. I think that the fact that you don't have a gallbladder is a big clue that you probably don't have enough bile, and I would start taking some bile salts, purified bile salts. Personally, I used to have a lot of bloating. I had always, on my right rib cage, underneath it is always kind of bloated, or I was always congested for years and years, and I didn't know what that was. And then started taking bile salts, and then wow, it just went away. So what happens is, like, when you're deficient in bile, everything kind of backs up, and you have inflammation in there, and then you don't have enough bile. So then if you don't have a gallbladder, you're going to be deficient. Then you're always going to bloat no matter what. So, and plus the bile is there to help balance your microbes. So I think that will kill 2 birds with 1 stone, Karen. Let's go to Susan because we're getting close to 12.
Right.
You're from Ohio. Go ahead, Susan.
Hi, Dr. Berg. How are you?
Hi.
I'm so excited to talk to you. It meant a lot to me to get through today because I found you last year. I started a weight loss journey in August, but I found you in October. And I don't know, whatever, that video just clicked in my head. And after my whole life, I've been overweight, yo-yo dieting, going back and forth, and pregnancies and this and that. And something you said just clicked in my head, and I followed the keto lifestyle. I started my weight loss journey at 320 pounds. And as of today, which is almost a year later, next Saturday will be a year, I've lost 140 pounds.
Oh my
and
gosh. That's huge.
And I wanted to thank you. I wanted to thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. Not only did you save my life, but also I got my dad on the keto program. My mom, makes his food and prepares his food. He's been diabetic for almost 20 years. In a fasted state, when he would check his sugar, first thing in the morning it'd be at 350, 400. And now his sugar is at 88, 90, 100, and he's almost off his insulin. And, my whole family, basically almost my whole family is on the keto diet, and they've seen great success. And, some of them have started in the last few months and have already lost like 30 pounds. And you've saved my family's life, and I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. It's very emotional because my whole life I've struggled and ups and downs, and I just want to thank you so much for all your information, all the time that you take, that you put in all your videos and all the information, and just getting through to people that the food out here is killing us slowly, and just making small changes. And I tell everybody there's a keto recipe for anything that you like. There's a keto recipe, just making slight adjustments can change your whole life. And I just wanted to thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And I just had two questions. I watched a couple of your videos where you said you were going to come up with a macro calculator.
Yes.
And I just wanted to see if that was out, because all the ones I've been using are really confusing. And I tried to do OMAD every other day. And I know you say to kind of stick to 3 to 6 ounces, at per meal. So I just wanted to see if that was out, just so I can make sure that I'm on track and scanning things to make sure if I should avoid them. And my second question is, if my family, like my intermediate, like my husband, he's super skinny, doesn't need to be on keto, and I'm Lebanese, so I make a lot of Lebanese food. if I taste test something for him to make sure the seasonings and the food is okay, will that knock me out of ketosis? Because I'm always scared to taste the food, and I'm like, I can't taste it. You taste it, so I don't want to get out of ketosis.
I think just a little bit of taste is not going to be an issue. But guess what? That macro calculator, we're just almost done with it. We've been working really hard at it. So we're going to release that really soon. It's going to be a great tool for everyone, and it's way better than any calculator out there. You'll see. So stay tuned. Thank you so much, Susan. All right, on that note.
It's 12:01, and I did have more questions, but we'll have to carry on next week, I guess. Hey, but we didn't mention the summit. Today is the last day of July, right? So in less than 2020 will be happening. So you definitely want to go to drberg.com and register. It's the parking is free, transportation is free. There's never a line at the bathroom. What else?
Well, I mean, the presentation that I have is going to blow you away. I've been working hard at that, and you will, just from that, the value is well worth it. You'll see why when you actually, if you attend.
Yeah, but there are tons of speakers.
Yes.
I mean, and they're getting added weekly, it seems. The information, these experts from all over the world, it's going to change your life. No matter where you are on your keto journey, you know, this is going to be unbelievable information.
Yeah, and there's a version of that you can get. It's I guess it's a VIP, which is not that much more. It's just, I think it's like $60-something. But basically, you get it recorded, so you could watch it at your own convenience as well after the event, and spend your time digesting it, and you'll have it there forever. So you don't want to miss out on this one. This is going to be very, very important.
And before we go, the other thing I wanted to mention is that course still free?
What course? Oh, the immune course is still free right now for a little bit longer. If you haven't done that, I'm going to have Steve put a link down below. The immune course is 21 lessons. This is about just helping you guys get your immune system totally in shape, and then bulletproofing yourself, because now you have the knowledge. The success stories coming from that they're mind-blowing. So that way you cannot be in fear and just, you know, have that knowledge. Yeah. All right, guys. Thanks so much. We'll see you next week.